Life relevance in education. With this anecdote, I had kind of the same problem where I was teaching, as some of you remember, a Casey class for the California High School Exit exam. And we had this really wonderful, supposedly computer program, has all the standards and hits every part of it. And that's very typical of a lot of computer programs. But I would take them to the lab and I literally started seeing students like this on the desk and just going, I go, hey, are you even reading or paying attention? What? Yeah, but obviously they weren't, they're lying. It's just the little excerpts they'd have to read were just so boring. They didn't relate to them. They just didn't care. So even though it was aligned to all the standards, there's no life relevance. There's no life purpose, no connection. They couldn't relate to them. So they got terrible scores. And I told my admin at the time, I said, hey, nobody wants to teach these classes because it makes us look bad. He goes, yeah, I know what you mean. I go, no one wants to teach them because literally, we'll have after semester one student out of 25 or 30 pass. So it makes us look like we're terrible teachers. I said, you know what? I had some success with that at-risk class that you gave me a while back. I think it'd be perfect for these guys too. Their attitudes are much better, but their skills are very low and they have very low interest in school. And a lot of them are immigrants or first generation. So I think this curriculum would be great. And the administrator at that time, he was so happy with the first response. He said, you know what? Yeah, let's buy a couple sets and let's get it to some of the other KC teachers too. And so sure enough, I taught the second novel, which is about a young lady named Lorena Olorcissimo. It's called More Than Tradition. And I had this one Filipino student that was from the Philippines. He was an immigrant. He'd only been at the school maybe a couple months. He didn't speak too much English. And all of a sudden, we have little excerpts of Tagalog. And I said, I think I can read this as a teacher, but probably not too well. And I said, would you like to? He goes, oh. And he was always really, really shy. And all of a sudden, his eyes lit up. And he read it, and everybody's like, oh, so what's that mean? And do we need to go to Google Translate? And all of a sudden, this kid who's super shy, didn't participate much, probably felt really lonely. A lot of the other kids didn't talk to him a whole lot. He was one of maybe only 2 Filipino students in the classroom. All of a sudden, he's like the hero. He's the center point. And so it was really wonderful to have that relationship in a multicultural fashion. Then I had another young lady. She just was a troublemaker. She was actually very smart. Just didn't care about school. And then one day she didn't come. I said, hey, where's so-and-so? And they're like, oh, Mr. Donnie, I think she was kicked out from another class. She's in class suspension or in-school suspension, where some high schools and middle schools have a class where you don't suspend them out of the school, but they have to stay in a detention room and get their work. And so I go, oh, okay. But then the next day, she came to the class, and I go, you're done with suspension? She goes, no, I'm still in it. And I go, well, what are you doing here then? She goes, oh, I talked to my friend, this other young lady that I mentioned, and she said that Lorena is going to have an abortion. And I go, yeah, that's in the story. She has to make that decision, and that's a tough one. And she goes, well, my teacher gave me permission so I could be here so I could read and participate. And I was like, wow. Oh, I go, really? You want to? And they go, yeah, because usually when the students get kicked out, they almost want to be kicked out or don't care. But she literally wanted to come to the classroom just so she could participate. And she could really relate, which is also another beautiful aspect of multiculturalism. This young lady was probably a middle class, Hispanic, Mexican American young lady, completely American. She might have spoken a little Spanish, but not really. You don't have to be Filipino to relate to the character, but she totally related to her because they were about the same age. This young lady was very pretty and had more than a few boys that liked her, and I think she could probably really relate to this. I don't think she was going through an abortion, but just she could relate to Lorena very much, who was a young pretty girl, but from a nice family, very sheltered. And then she gets involved with a slightly older boy, and he starts challenging a lot of her traditional beliefs. So my last one I'm going to mention, just in case some teachers are thinking, well, this is good for at-risk students or real low level.